Hello, thank you for joining us today. We have an inner thigh Pilates workout that we're going to be working through today. Of course, with inner thighs, we will be activating quite a bit of our core muscles as well. So all you will need is a mat and please make sure we are listening to our body. If anything doesn't feel right, we just need to stop, see how you're going if you're ready to join back in, or just give your body a bit of a break if it's not feeling right for today. So that being said, we're going to start on our mat. So I'll get you to come lying down onto your mat. Feet are going to be hip distance apart with your knees bent. And I just get you to pop your hands onto your hips, and we'll start with some rocking of our pelvis. So I'm arching our back and then flattening that spine into our mat and then arching back again. So we're just going to start here, warming up through our lower spine, through our pelvis, and starting to activate into our transverse abdominals, which is the lower band of our abdominals, sort of where you would think about your lower waistband sitting. Now, like I said, we're going to be working into our inner thighs, but that is going to be activating into our core quite a bit here. So what I want you to do is find your neutral spine, and generally our neutral spine is going to be somewhere in between that arch and that flat back that we had. Engage your core by drawing your abdominals into your spine. And I want you to lift your legs up to tabletop. Tabletop, we have our knees in line with our hips, our shins are flat and parallel up to the ceiling. We're just going to go into some toe taps here. As we're working on our toe taps, the main thing that I want you to focus on is that those abdominals are engaged and we don't have any doming of our abdominals, so we're not pushing those abdominals up towards the ceiling. They're engaged, they're drawn down, and we can feel that they're tight and that they're working. All right, I'm going to get you to go 2 more each side. And then we're going to hold here in our tabletop position. Those knees are going to draw out to the sides of our mat and then draw back into center. Draw out to the sides of our mat and then draw back into center. So we're going to start warming up through those inner thighs and practice engaging our inner thighs whilst keeping our core switched on. Inner thighs is one of my favorite things to work in Pilates. It definitely is something that I find challenging, and it's a great way to challenge your core and work on a part of our body that often when we're working out from home especially can be forgotten about. But it's so important to strengthen our inner thighs. It helps with pelvis stability and even can help to strengthen our pelvic floor. This is a slow and controlled movement. Those knees stay in line with our hips the whole time. And we're just warming up, engaging through those inner thighs. On this next one, I want you to hold out to the corners of our mat. Extend your legs out with flexed feet. Come back into a bent knee position. Find your tabletop. Let those legs come out to the side. Extend your feet out straight. Flexed feet. Knee bend. Back into the middle. So you might find with this one that your core starts to be engaged a little bit more. Starting to work into that core. I'm just going to go 3 more here. Making sure we're adding in our breathing. Lower those feet down to the mat, and I'll get you to extend them out nice and long. Lift your right leg up off the mat And it might be better for you to keep it in a bent position, or you can challenge yourself and try and strengthen it up to the ceiling. Your hands are going to come onto your hips so you can make sure that they stay nice and level with each other. And we're going to come into some leg circles here. So your leg is going to draw out to the right side, and then it's going to wrap and come around back up to center. So we're letting it extend out to the side laterally, and then half a circle back up to center. By this stage, your inner thigh on your right side should definitely start to fire here. But breathe into it and breathe through it. One more in this direction. Pause at the top. And then I want you to lower down to your center line towards the mat, and then draw it up and around back to your midline. Down and around. Down and around. Now it can sometimes feel a little bit uncomfortable. Like I said earlier, we don't work into our inner thighs as much as we do some of the other parts of our body. Do your best to try and keep that pelvis and those hips in line with each other. We've got 2 more here, and that left hip is definitely going to be tempted to come up off the mat. Last one. Draw around, back up to center, lowering back down. Bend your knees and just give yourself a little bit of a shake out in your lower back, and we're going to go straight onto the other side. Left leg comes up straight. We are going to bring it out laterally to the side, and then semicircle back, coming up through the middle. Out laterally to the side, and semicircle around, coming back up into the middle. So remember, if this feels really uncomfortable for you, you can do this in a bent leg movement, and that'll just help because we are lowering that range of motion and the levers are being shortened, so that might help with a little bit more comfort for you. But whatever is going to work best for you, making sure that core is engaged. Check in with that that right hip. Make sure it's not lifting up off the mat too much. We're going to go one more this way, and then we'll swap it around. Pause at the top, lower down towards your mat, draw it out to the side and up towards your center. Lowering down to the mat, out to the side, up towards your center. Breathing through, feel those inner thighs engaged. Check in with your core, make sure it's not doming. It's drawn in. We've got 3. We've got 2. And last one here. Beautiful. Lower it down onto the mat. Draw those knees in. Inhale to prepare. We're going to come up into our tabletop. Hands are going to come behind our head. Inhale to prepare. Lift your head, neck and shoulders up off the mat. Lowering back down. Lift up off the mat. Lowering back down. Before we go into some triceps and some side lying inner thighs, we just work into those rectus abdominals. We've done quite a bit into those lower transverse abdominals, and we will continue to throughout this session. If you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, every time you come into your crunch, extend one of your legs long and then lower back down. Exhale as you come into your crunch. Inhale as you come down onto your mat. Few more here. If you want to challenge yourself further, come into a double leg reach, lower back down. Crunch, double leg reach, lower back down. And we're going to go for 5 more. You've got 3. Slow and controlled. You've got 2. You've got 1 here. Lowering your feet back down to the mat. Rolling onto your side. We're going to work into our triceps a little bit here. So once you set up your side lying, hips are going to be stacked on top of each other. Your bottom leg is going to be bent and your top leg is going to be extended out long. That top leg being extended out long just acts as a little bit more of a stabilizer as we're going through this movement. Your underneath arm, which for us at the moment is going to be our left arm, is going to wrap around and hold onto your right shoulder. Your right hand is going to be out in front of you. Using that tricep, you're going to push yourself up, lower yourself back down. Push yourself up, lowering yourself back down. Now we want to keep that tricep close to our body. And we want to make sure that as we're pushing ourselves up and lowering ourselves back down, that those hips are still staying stacked on top of each other and they're not rolling around. Use your exhale breath as you push yourself up away from the mat and inhale as you come back down. Now you should definitely be feeling this very quickly into this movement. It's quite a challenging movement. Looks very simple, but we're really challenging that right tricep as we work through here. Breathe through. Let's go for 5 more. You've got 4. You've got 3. We can do it. 2. And last one here. Push yourself up. Lower back down onto the mat. We're going to stay in side lying, and you may wish to rest your head onto your left shoulder or into your left hand, whatever works best for you. This top leg is going to open up, foot rested on the floor, knee up towards the ceiling. Hand is going to come out in front of you to help it stabilize. Left leg is going to extend out, flex your foot. Inhale to prepare, lift it off the mat, lowering back down. Lifting off the mat, lowering back down. So we are definitely going to be working into our core here, keeping our bodies stable. But we are working into that left inner thigh each time we lift it up off the mat. We're going to go for 5 more full lifts. And then I want you to hold it up. I'm going to pulse it out. So we've got 3, 2, hold up, pulse it out for 10, 9, 8, 7, big burn here. We've got 4, 3, 2, 1, hold it up. Point those toes, little inner thigh leg circles. Let's go for 5 more this way. And then we're going to swap directions. We've got 2, 1, pause, swap directions for 5, 4, 3, use your core to help stabilize, 2, 1, lowering back down. Turning onto your back, hug those knees into your chest. Give yourself a second here just to catch your breath before we go into some more inner thigh work here. From here, I'm going to get you to plant your feet down onto the ground. Core is engaged, leg comes up into tabletop. We're going to repeat that movement that we started the class with. So knees are going to draw out to the sides of your mat, coming back in together. Knees draw out inside to the side of your mat, coming back together. Now in this movement, now that we've worked on those inner thighs a little bit more, you should definitely be feeling some more engagement here. We're just going to go for 2 more. The last one, meet in the middle. Heels are going to come together and your knees are going to come out to the side. So we're going to go into what we call our froggy press. I find it better to do this with flexed feet. We're going to engage our core, push those feet out so they're straight, draw them back into the middle. Push them out so they're straight, draw them back out into the middle, back into the middle. Now in this movement, our hips and our knees, they remain externally rotated. So our hips and our knees, and even our feet, should be facing towards the edges of your mat here. Now this is one that you will often see, or you may have done on a reformer. And because we don't have any weight into those legs, we are using into our core a lot here. If you want to challenge your core a little bit more, you can bring your hands behind your head, come up into a crunch, and you can work on your abdominals and those inner thighs. If you're finding this really challenging, you can push more up towards the ceiling rather than out on that 45-degree angle, and that will just take some of the pressure out of your abdominals. The other option that you can do here is to come up onto your elbows, open that chest up, and you can continue to work through that movement here. This will engage your core a little bit more without putting so much of that strain onto your core. Whatever option you're working through, we're going to go for 3 more. 2, 1, push out strong, hold. Open your heels out to the side of the room, draw them back together. Come into your froggy tabletop and repeat. So push them out, open up laterally to the side of your room, heels come back together, draw your knees back in. Pushing out to froggy, laterally open to the sides of the room, coming back into the center, draw your knees back in. Now remember, if it gets too much, just take a little bit of a break. You can lower that head back down onto the mat. We've got 3 more here before we go into some little lateral leg circles. Last 2. 1 more, pushing out. Open those legs laterally. Keep your flexed feet and just draw little circles with your legs. So the movement is coming from our hips. Very little circles, they don't have to be big. 2 more this way. Pause here. Reverse those circles for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Draw those legs in. Hug at those knees. I'll get you to bring the heels of your feet together. Knees come open out to the sides. And if you want a little bit of an extra stretch here, you can use your elbows to push into those knees and open up into those inner thighs. Just allow yourself to catch your breath here. And then I'll get you to roll over to your other side so that your right hand is down onto the mat. Setting up our side lying, hips are stacked on top of each other. Your bottom leg is going to be bent and your top leg is going to extend out straight for some extra stabilizing. Right hand comes around and hugs onto your left shoulder. Left hand out in front of you. Engage your core, make sure it's slightly lifted off the mat. We're going to go into that tricep push. So remember, we do start feeling this very quickly, pushing up into those triceps, lower down with control. So you don't want to just be falling down into the mat, we want to lower with control. We do feel into that tricep very quickly here. Breathe through it. We are also working into that side waist as we push up and lower ourselves down. Let's go for 5 more. 5, 4, 3, breathe through it. 2, last one here, pushing up, resting down into the mat. You can support your head by either resting onto your right shoulder or coming up into your right hand. Your top leg, which is your left leg, is going to open up, plant your foot onto the ground, knee is up towards the ceiling. Right leg extends out long, flex those feet. We're going to lift and lower here. Lift and lower. Now you might find this side a little bit more challenging. That left inner thigh has definitely been working, so it's going to be quite fatigued now. So you're going to have to really draw into your core to help stabilize in this movement here. We're going to go for 10 more, and then we'll go straight into those pulses. You've got 8. Breathe through it. 7, 6. You use your breath. Let's go for 4, 3, 2, last one up, lift and hold, pulse out for 10, 9, 8. This is where I really start to feel that burn. We've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it up, point those toes. Yeah, we're going to go straight into those little leg circles. They're an absolute killer, but they definitely get that job done. 3 more in this direction. Last 2. Last 1. Hold it there. Reverse those circles. You've got this. Let's go for 5, 4, 3, 2. Last 1. Lower down with control. Coming onto your back, hug those knees into your chest. Give your back a little bit of a roll out. You may wish to make some little circles, massage out that lower back. And then when you're ready, your hands come behind your knees and you kind of come up into the seated position. We're going to finish our inner thighs today standing. All right, so those feet are going to come out wider than hip distance. Feet turned out to the corners of your mat. Now we are going to come into a slight pelvic tuck here. And when I mean slight, it's just a little one. If we over tuck our pelvis, we're going to lock out our hips and we're not going to be able to get into our plie squat like we need to. Feet wider than hip distance, turned out to the corners of our mat, slight tuck under. We're going to come down into our squat and push back up. Down into our squat and push back up. Now, when we are doing a normal squat, our feet are often in line with our hips and we're pushing our bottom back and down as if we're sitting on a chair. With a plie squat, we want to have our back up nice, tall and straight, and we're imagining that we are rolling down the wall and coming back up. Rolling down the wall and coming back up. So I'll go side on just so you can see what I mean here. Our back remains nice and straight and we drop our bottom down towards the floor. So you can see I'm not pushing my bottom out here, it's going down towards the floor. We're just going to stay here for 5 more before we add on. Breathing through. 3 more here. After 2, we're going to come down and hold. Holding here, let's pulse it out. Now in your pulses, you're going to be tempted to push that bottom out. Tuck it back under. We are using our inner thighs to get us through this movement. Let's pulse out for 5, 4, 3, 2, hold it down. Lift your right heel, lower it back down. Lift your left heel, lower it back down. Breathe through here. That heart rate is going to be coming up. It's going to be burning. You've got this. Now if you want to challenge yourself a little bit further, we're going to go for double heel lifts and lowers. Double heel lifts and lowers. Are those shoulders nice and open? Is that back nice and straight? And are you using your breath to help you get through this movement? All right, 3 more with your heel lifts. And then if you want to challenge yourself, we're going to lift those heels up. I'm going to pulse it out for 10, 9, 8. You can pulse it out with your heels down as well. That's okay. Wherever you are, we've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower those heels down. Give yourself a little bit of a rest here. Walk out those heels. We've got 1 more squat challenge each side. Setting up your plie squat again. Feet wider than hip distance apart. Toes turned out to the side. We're going to squat down, and we're going to use the momentum of our left leg to push us up. Heel is going to meet our right heel. Step out into your plie squat. Use the momentum of your left leg to come up, heels touch. Beautiful. So we're adding in a little bit of cardio here, really getting that heart rate up for the final part of our inner thigh workout today. And you might wish to stay here. If you want to challenge your stability a little bit more, on this next one, I'll get you to push up and out. Feet, heels come together. Feet are both turned out, and we're going to pulse it out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back out into your squat, push it out. Heels come together, feet are turned out, pulse it out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 more like that. Step it out. Momentum to come out. Heels together, feet turned out, pulse it out for 5, 4. Working on our stabilizing and our balance. 2, 1. Last one on this side. Step it out. Momentum to come together. Pulse it out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Plant your feet down on the ground. Walk them out. My heart rate is definitely up right now. Final time. Go straight into the other side. Feet hip distance, wider than hip distance, toes turned out. Come down into your squat. Push up through that right side to meet your left heel. Step back out into your plie squat. Whoop, balance is definitely being tested here. We've got this. Heart rate is up. Inner thighs are burning. Let's go for 3 more here, and then we'll add in our final little balance challenge. 2. Last one. If you want to challenge yourself, heels come together, toes are turned up. Pulse it out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Step it out. Coming in, pulsing it out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Step it out. We've got 2 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last one here. You might be like me. Definitely find my left side more challenging than my other side. 3, 2, 1. Plant those feet down onto the ground. Give those feet a little bit of a walk out. Coming into a cool down. Starting to catch our breath. Feet come out wide. Instead of those toes being turned out to the corners of the room, we're going to have our toes turned straight towards your camera or the front of your room. Hands on your hips. You're going to bend from the hips. Hands come onto the ground. Shake out those hips by just moving them side to side here. Both of your hands come over to the right side. Inhale. Exhale. Hands come over to the left side. Inhale here. Exhale. Turn back over to your right side. Hands come planted on the ground. Both of your feet face the right side of your mat. Feel a beautiful stretch across your left hip flexor here. Back up to the middle, hands over to your left side, feet come to follow. Stretch out that right hip flexor, breathe through. Your left leg is going to come back, find your 4-point kneeling. Rest back into your child's pose. Catching your breath here, deep inhales and exhales. Stay here for 3 more breaths. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. I hope that your inner thighs are feeling a nice burn, but also very strong for the rest of your day. Thank you for joining, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts and your feedback.